is News Extra from NTA's Top Table, where we dish out stories from different parts of the country and beyond, treated, of course, with an extra touch of fine details. Tonight, a whole lot have been lined up for your viewing pleasure, beginning with the Federal Executive Council, which gave approval for a revised energy policy aimed at improving energy supply, among other benefits. We also navigate to the National Assembly, where the Senate is set to amend the Hajj Commission Act. And of course, as the month of Ramadan gradually makes its exit, we bring you the lessons of iftar and a peep into the world of tailors and the task of meeting up the demand of customers at Ramadan. You know, the borders come alive again after 2 years of closure. We take you on a journey to the Jibia border in Katsina State. Just as elsewhere in the state, tuberculosis on the prowl at the correctional center leaves on its trail dead inmates. And on the World 2022 Malaria Day raises curiosity over the country's effort at vaccine. These are just a tip of what tonight's package is all about. If your appetite is whetted, then simply sit back and let's serve you the whole package. After all, the taste of the pudding is in the eating. I'm Yen Ray John, still standing in for your regular anchor, and this is News Extra. Welcome. The Federal Executive has approved the 2022 revised national energy policy for the country. This is to enable Nigeria to explore all energy mix towards improving generation and supply of energy for sustainable growth and development of the economy. Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation, Dr. Gunaya Onu, announced this at a media briefing after the meeting of the council presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports on this and other resolutions adopted by the council.
With fast-moving rivers, abundance of sunshine, wind, geothermal sources, biomass, as well as huge deposits of natural gas yet to be fully exploited, Nigeria can be described as an energy resources powerhouse. The revised national energy policy and related master plan is therefore charting a pragmatic course for the country to utilize the wide range of such resources for enhanced national development.
We believe that by effectively utilizing our energy resources, we'll be in a position to improve on energy supply in our country. We have to plan our economy around the energy resources available to Nigeria.
Meanwhile, 201.9 million naira has been approved as variation of an existing contract for the construction of 132 direct circuit line from Katampe to the National Stadium in Abuja, now at 90% level of execution. The Minister of Power, Abubakar Aliyu, also announced the approval of $1.2 million as well as 16.4 million naira for the design, manufacture and supply of 260 MVA 132/33 kV power transformers for enhanced power supply in the country.
The third approval is a contract to also design, construction and installation of 260 kilometer transmission line from Birnin Kebbi through Zuru to Yauri in Kebbi State at the cost of $25.8 million, and the onshore is 10.2 billion naira.
In the meantime, the Ministry of Mines and Steel Development has been given the go-ahead to award contract for the engagement of transaction advisors for the concession of Ajakuta Steel Company Limited and the National Iron Ore Mining Complex in Etape at 853.2 million naira.
We believe that with this development, would have made significant steps in bringing back to life both the Ajakuta Steel Complex and the Iron Ore Company in Itape, and fast forward the industrial revolution of Nigeria
The Federal Executive Council also approved scale of fees for mining engineering and geosciences consultancy services towards ensuring standardization in line with international best practices.
The scale of fees being recommended is in respect of experts in solid minerals, water resources, mining, metallurgical processing, oil and gas industry, and the private sector inputs. Most important thing to note about this particular memo, which was approved today, was that it sets a benchmark for professionals and experts to get fair services.
But before the consideration and approval of the various memoranda from ministries, departments and agencies, a moment of silence was observed in honor of the late member of the council, Tonya Graham Douglas. Mr. Graham Douglas, who died on Monday this week, served in various ministries, including aviation, as well as labor and productivity under the IBB and Obasanjo administrations. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Meanwhile, 4 newly appointed permanent secretaries have been sworn in to fill existing vacancies in the Federal Civil Service. The swearing-in ceremony performed by President Muhammadu Buhari preceded the weekly meeting of the Federal Executive Council. Again, State House correspondent Adamu Sambu has the details.
That I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Emerged from a rigorous eligibility exercise conducted for directors in the Federal Civil Service, comprising a written examination, ICT competency test, as well as an interactive session with a broad spectrum of stakeholders in the public and private sectors, the new permanent secretaries represent states where vacancies existed. They are Dr. Mary Ada Ogbe from Benue State, Malam Shehu Ibrahim Jigawa State, Kacholom Shanti Daju Plateau State, and Beatrice J.D. Agba, the Solicitor General of the Federation from Edo State. The brief but colorful swearing-in ceremony, conducted in compliance with the COVID-19 safety advisory, was devoid of any presidential address. The head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Dr. Folashade Yemi Esong, however, speaks on government's expectations from the new appointees.
I am sure that they're going to give their best because they went through a very rigorous process to emerge as federal permanent secretaries. And so I'm confident that by the grace of God, they will put in their best, a lot of hard work, a lot of integrity, to ensure that government policies are executed as expected.
The permanent secretaries spoken to by NTA News thanked President Muhammadu Buhari for finding them worthy of their appointment and promised to live above board in discharging their responsibilities.
Well, I feel humbled to be given such a responsibility, and I know that to whom much is given, much is expected, and I trust God to do my best to serve the fatherland in compliance with the mandate of the government.
We are going to give it all to ensure that all that especially 9 priorities of Mr. President, that we fulfill them, and that any other policy or any other agenda of government is seriously, implemented to the latter by all of us.
I assure the President of my unalloyed support, loyalty, to defend the integrity of this country and to ensure that all the policies and programs of government are translated down to the citizens for whom we are working for.
Well, I assure of my continued loyalty to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and that I will commit the duties of my office with diligence and with a sense of commitment and professionalism.
Permanent secretaries are the chief administrative as well as accounting officers of the ministries they are assigned to, and therefore manage and coordinate day-to-day operations, advise ministers, and indeed responsible for the efficient, effective, and economical management of such ministries. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
In other news, the Federation Account Allocation Committee, FAC, has shared a total sum of 725.571 billion naira March 2022 Federation account revenue to the federal government, states and local government councils. Henshaw Ogubike, Director, Information, Press and Public Relations Office of the Accountant General, in a statement affirmed this was contained in a 225.571 billion naira to distributable revenue comprised distributable statutory revenue of 521.169 billion naira and distributable value-added tax revenue of 204.402 billion naira. Current balance in the excess crude account now stands at $35.372 million. In a month under review, petroleum profit tax, PPT, oil and gas royalties, import and excise duties, companies' income tax, and value-added tax all recorded tremendous increases. Now heading to the National Assembly, the Senate is considering a bill that seeks to amend the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria Act. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nkwo reports that the bill, among other issues, seeks to put in place a board of trustees for the commission.
It was the second plenary after the Easter break, but the first for legislative business. The bill that seeks to amend the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria Act, sponsored by Senator Ibrahim Abdullahi Dambaba, was the first bill that was passed for second reading. It seeks to restrict the activities of the Commission to its regulatory and coordinating functions.
The bill also seeks to prohibit the use of funds accruing to the Hajj savings schemes for the purposes other than intended.
Money should not be kept in a bank that will yield interest, and that money will be used by the Commission.
Most of the things that the Hajj Commission is doing, the overbearing influence they have over these operations, goes beyond supervision.
Senate has passed the Terrorism Prevention Act Amendment Bill, which seeks to outlaw the payment of ransom to kidnappers.
This is one bill, one piece of legislation that can turn around not only the security situation in Nigeria, but even the economic fortunes of our country.
The bill that seeks to repeal the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act 2015 and to enact the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Bill 2022, sponsored by Senator Issa Jibrin. The bill for the establishment of the National Institute of Information and Communication Technology, Oboloma Biri, Bayelsa State, sponsored by Senator Bio Barakuma Degi Eremioyo, and the Federal University of Technology Act Amendment Bill by Senator Mohammed Bima Inagi, passed second reading.
The grievous nature of certain offenses in the Act, especially Section 22(1), makes the punishment provided inadequate.
To aid the development of Nigeria in the areas of industry, commerce, technology, and engineering.
To identify technological problems and needs of the society and to find solutions to them within the context of overall national development.
The National Cashew Production and Research Institute, EDA Kogi State Establishment Bill, sponsored by Senator Jibrin Issa, passed first reading. Senate has urged the National Commission for Monuments to establish a national museum at Akasa Slave Trade Center in Bayelsa State, as moved by Senator Bio Barakuma Degi Eremioyo, as it also commiserated with families of victims of fire incident at a local refinery in Imo State that led to the death of 110 persons, as moved by Senator Rochas Okorocha, Deputy Minority Whip of the Senate. Senator Ibrahim Abdullahi Dambaba from Sokoto South defected from the People's Democratic Party, PDP, to the All Progressives Congress, citing crisis in the Northwest and Sokoto State chapters of the PDP as his reason.
I just want the public and everybody in Nigeria to know that there is no crisis in the PDP in the Northwest.
A senator, a Disungu senator, stands up here in this chamber and says in his place, this is the situation. An FCT senator will say, no, it doesn't exist.
Senator Ibikunle Amosun has notified the Senate of his intention to contest for the presidency in 2023. Senate has adjourned to Tuesday, the 10th of May, 2022 for Salah break. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
And in the Green Chamber, the Committee on Public Accounts wants officials of the Federal Ministry of Trade and Industry to explain how 2.6 trillion naira capital allowance was granted to MTN. National Assembly correspondent Lamiele reports that the issue came up following audit queries from the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation relating to tax evasion.
Capital allowance is the amount spent on business assets which can be subtracted from what the business owes in tax.
2.6 trillion naira is the amount said to have been granted to MTN as capital allowances by the Federal Inland Revenue Service based on certification of the Federal Ministry of Trade and Industry. This was queried as tax evasion by the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation, which is why the House Committee on Public Accounts is conducting this investigation.
The basis of Auditor General's query is that such instruments are prone to being falsified. We want to have proof of how you arrive at the figure and how industry also arrive at the figure before issuing you that certificate.
General Manager MTN Yemisi Adebayo told the committee that the capital allowances were granted to the company following claims it made and subsequent physical inspection of its assets at selected locations by officials of the ministry.
They visited Ikoyi Switch on the 3rd of December. A six-man team visited Ikoyi Switch. Mr. Anete Omoesien, Joseph Alaki, Eyitokwe Aina Oshinowo, Smiler Ibrahim, Abu Hakim, and George Anioke.
And where? Ikoyi?
Yes, the Ikoyi Switch, sir.
So how much was the value of assets given to you?
Okay, 2020 relating to 2019 assessment, 219 billion, 178 million, 186,000.
The committee has invited officials of the Federal Ministry of Trade and Industry involved in the inspection of the assets at various locations in the country. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
Away from the National Assembly now, the Vice President, Yemi Osinbajo, says his presidential ambition is born out of his passion to assist Nigeria in realizing the dreams of the nation's founding fathers and also to secure the future of the next generation. The Vice President stated this in Ogun State while meeting with delegates and leadership of the All Progressives Congress in the state in continuation of his consultation ahead of APC presidential primary. Yemi Dalemo brings us details.
The Vice President, who was accompanied by the State Governor, Dapo Abiodun, says he is in the state to consult with leadership of the party and other stakeholders about his ambition.
After 7.5 years of serving as Vice President, being able to see for myself, being able to observe for myself what we have done right, what we could have done better, and various other things, I think that when the opportunity now arose for me to decide whether or not to run as President of Nigeria, I had only one question to ask myself. And that question is whether I will be faithful to my oath to the Federal Republic of Nigeria and to the people of Nigeria, to serve with all my heart and to serve with all my might. That's the only question I have to ask myself. Should our children, should I not do the best I can, having been given this position for our children and for coming generations?
Ogun State Governor Dapo Abiodun appreciated the Vice President for consulting with his people and assured him of the party's support in the state.
You serve your God meritoriously. We've all seen it. You've been very loyal enough. You've demonstrated capacity and capability.
Other stakeholders, including the Akarigbo of Remo Land, Oba Babatunde Ajayi, prayed God to grant him success in his endeavor. The Vice President thereafter held a closed-door meeting with other stakeholders at the Presidential Lodge at Abeokuta and paid homage to Alaki and Paramount Ruler of Egbaland, Oba Adeotun Aremu Gbadebo, where he formally informed the monarch about his intention to contest the 2023 presidential election. In Abeokuta, Yemi Dalemo, NTA News.
Elsewhere, the Minister of Transportation, Chibuke Rotimi Amechi, says the reconstruction of the Port Harcourt-Maiduguri rail line narrow gauge project will be followed by a standard gauge along the same route. The minister gave the assurance while consulting with Imo State Governor and party members on his presidential aspiration.
It was homecoming for the minister's party members from states in the southeast trooped out in their numbers to welcome him. The minister, who commended the industrial drive of the Igbo, says Federal government plan of reconstructing the Port Harcourt to Maiduguri rail corridor is aimed at reviving the Eastern Rail Corridor, boosting internal trade and massive job creation.
We are currently constructing the rail from Port Harcourt to Maiduguri. And that rail, out of my own volition, I brought it to Owerri. I took this rail to Ubima, where we have an industrial park. And I told the people, look, from here to Owerri is not too far. Can you tell me how many kilometers from here to Owerri? They say 45 kilometers. I say extend it to Owerri.
He made clarification on the choice of narrow gauge for now.
We have argued why narrow gauge. The reason for narrow gauge is that by the time we finished costing the standard gauge, it was $14 million. If I tell you that we can get $14 million before we leave, I'll be lying. So what did I do? We finished costing the standard gauge. We got the approval, we have kept it with the Ministry of Transport, so that when the new minister comes, we can continue. But instead of leaving you without anything, I asked for the reconstruction of the narrow gauge, pending when we get money to do the standard gauge.
Governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodinma, assured the Igbos of President Muhammadu Buhari's quest to develop the region by carrying out infrastructural projects.
So our dear President Muhammadu Buhari, who is the leader of the party, will not disappoint in the Igbo.
APC members from Abia, Imo, Anambra, Ebonyi and Enugu states were on hand to receive the minister and his entourage.
And still talking politics, governorship aspirant on the platform of APC in Rivers State, Senator Magnus Abe, has enjoined party faithful in Okrika and Ogubolo local government areas of Rivers to choose wisely the party's governorship candidate that is electable and whose programs would be beneficial to all. Abe, at a rally in Okrika, said he represents the kind of leadership Rivers people desire and deserve. Kingsley Amajiri reports.
Senator Magnus Abe and his supporters were in Okrika to woo APC supporters in these two local government areas to support Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Senator Magnus Abe's political aspiration for president and governor, respectively.
I'm delivering a message on behalf of the elders and statesmen of Rivers State that nobody should allow an individual, no matter how blessed, no matter how opportune you are, to take Rivers State into his pocket.
Three political pressure groups, Progressive Student Network, Rivers Voice of Freedom, and Bola Ahmed Tinubu Vanguard, were inaugurated to champion grassroots mobilization for Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Senator Magnus Abe's political aspiration. Key concern for Senator Magnus Abe is the need for APC to present a candidate that has political value that will help the party win election.
You should look for your own partner that will partner with you to make these things work for you. Not be so?
Senator Abe restated that he will only accept governorship primaries in APC that allow the will of the people prevail. In the meantime, natural and paramount rulers in communities of Gukana local government area met and unanimously endorsed the governorship bid of Senator Magnus Abe. This was just as they also accompanied him to pay homage and received the blessing of Beremene Gukana, where Senator Magnus hails from.
If we follow the interest of justice, fairness, equity, and what is right between people who live together, it is a turn of the Ogoni people.
Senator Abe equally reaffirmed his call on Rivers State electorate to choose a leader that would make governance beneficial to all, which he said he represents. In Port Harcourt, Kingsley Amaju, NTA News.
Now, in the year 2023, Nigeria is looking to boost its democratic credentials by posting another success at the periodic general elections, thereby extending the current civilian rule to 24 unbroken years. Among other factors expected to aid this quest is effective voter participation anchored on voter education. In this report, Adeni Taiwo examines how informed the Nigerian electorate is about this crucial civic responsibility.
They have come
Eligible Nigerians periodically empower a selected few to run the affairs of the country by giving them political mandate transferred through the ballot. Why they do this, how they go about doing it, and who they should give such power to are critical considerations which must be driven by proper information among the voting populace.
At 61 years old, Eugene Akukwe has participated in several elections, his first voting experience coming during the election that brought in President Shehu Shagari in 1979.
I used to hear medians, either newspaper, radio, television. I saw some arguments, they are arguing on issues. So that's the area that I used to support, the one that I used to go to meeting and do.
A random sampling of Lagos residents to determine how much they know about the process and actors involved in the coming polls yielded different responses.
I don't know much about them, but at least just to vote.
The information about the candidate, first and foremost, I get them from newspapers, from television, listen to news. And for the registration also, yes, I try to go online to get to INEC portal.
On the part of the Independent National Electoral Commission, voter education is a priority in order to scale up the number of PVC collection as a first step towards encouraging popular participation.
We will also have a reduction in void vote, because if they know how to cast their vote appropriately, they will be able to cast their vote and it will not be wasted.
In the build-up to the 2023 general elections, they say voter education must enjoy multi-stakeholders' attention.
Using all avenues you have to use to disseminate messages. But what of the stakeholders? What of politicians? What of the media? What of the traditional rulers? These are agents of voter education.
For as long as the validity of the process is enhanced when the voter knows how to register and complete the ballot process, all hands must be on deck at various levels to provide such education. In Lagos, Adini Taiwo, NTA News.
Indeed, voter education is key ahead of the 2023 general elections. So we now take out time for a breather, and when News Extra returns, we shall bring you the Muslims breaking a fast known as iftar and the lessons inherent in it as we take a peep into the world of tailors and the task of meeting up with demands in Ramadan. It's a tale of different strokes for different folks. Stay with us for these and more in just a moment. Glad to have you back. Let's now take you to the Joel in the savannah. You know, during the holy month of Ramadan, the Muslim community practices the virtues of love and care for one another. And this is indicated by family ties at the breaking of the fast. In Gombe State, the government brings different segments of society to Government House for breaking of the fast. Emmanuel Akila reports that the climax of the Iftar Fellowship was when Governor Muhammadu Inuwa Yahaya parleyed Almajiri children and their teachers.
The Almajiri are Islamic students who study in places away from their own immediate families. Governor Muhammadu Inuwa Yahaya sees the state government as the family of all.
The fundamental principle on which the fasting itself is built is for us to feel how the ordinary man who may lack food, who may lack shelter, and who may lack the basis of life is feeling when he doesn't have such. And in that spirit, we organize iftar. That is the breaking of the fast with the various segments of the people. And I feel these Almajiri, as you see them, are part of the people. So I invited them to come and share with us this iftar in the government house. And we've extended our hands of friendship.
They eat and drink at the table with the governor, collect their salah clothes, and had the opportunity to appreciate the impact of government on their studies.
We are happy because since the creation of Gombe State, this is the first time the cleric and his Almajiri students visit the government house.
The governor also hosted the business class, members of the judiciary, his staff, politicians, and working journalists in the state, among other groups. In Gombe, Emmanuel Akila, NTA News.
Moving away from the joy in the savannah now, you know, the month of Ramadan is characterized by days of self-denial of food and drink, as well as nights of worship. But there are some specialists who spend the day and night in the month of Ramadan striving to meet the demand of customers. But alas, most of the time, it's disappointments. Abdullahi Muhammad tells us who they are.
Tailoring, the profession with limited time in the month of Ramadan. Their time runs faster than those who fast. This is to meet the deadline of their customers, who bombards them with the task of sewing their dresses for the auspicious occasion after the last day of fasting. Faster, they push the rotors of their sewing machines with sleepless nights, all in the name of fulfilling those promises. Inspiring is the local music. This is to keep the eyes wide open. But the only loan that doesn't have the word default in its books is sleep. This must be paid. And the slowdown in the process of paying these sleepless nights gives rooms for disappointment.
I have not collected plenty. It's only 15 and I have sewn 6, remaining 9.
Preparing to sew one of his customers' dress, Dauda says there are forces working against them, which customers should consider in case disappointment, which is inevitable, arises.
But then, do you think all the customers that gave you material this time around for Salah, they will get it before Salah?
It's not all really, because of the challenges of the life. But like 70 or 80, they will get it.
If you are a tailor who specializes in sewing for women like Isa, you are on your own if you dare disappoint them.
So when they come with their anger, it's for you to maintain your patient, pleading with them. As far as we are pleading with them, they will get to understand that it's not deliberately.
I was a master way back on this machine, and I can vividly remember the coded messages we used back then to buy more time from our customers.
This generation of tailors say only a handful use that strategy, but the majority strive to fulfill the promises they made to their customers. Even with that, some of the customers will have their dresses way after coming back from the Eid ground. In Abuja, Abdullahi Muhammad, NTA News.
Many thanks, Abdullahi. Honestly, if you have never been disappointed by a tailor before, then you must consider yourself one of the very lucky few. All right, let's move on now to the land of promise. You know, Nigeria's economy is projected to rise if domestic recovery measures are adopted. To propel this projection, heads of federal establishments in Akwa Ibom State have staged a sensitization campaign to enlighten Nigerians on the need to revert to patronizing and promoting made-in-Nigeria products and services. A call to take advantage of platforms on the NTA to promote their goods and services also took center stage, as Ifoma Aikoje reports.
In line with the federal government's drive to discourage Nigerians from the frenzy of patronizing foreign products at the detriment of the nation's economy, the need to make Nigeria's local commodities to compete favorably in the international market has become obligatory, as emphasized by the heads of federal establishments in Akwa Ibom State.
And we continue to patronize imported goods. In other words, we are killing our market while promoting other markets in foreign countries. Federal government is appealing to all of us to look inward.
Unemployment will automatically reduce if and only if we appreciate what we produce.
For the Nigerian products to earn the desired publicity and acceptance, the place of advertisements cannot be overemphasized. Hence, the General Manager NTA Nkechi Iheme highlights various platforms on the NTA strategically designed to sell the Nigerian commodities even beyond the shores of the country.
You can produce their own programs and then come to NTA, buy airtime, and we take you to the people, whoever you want to reach.
The federal
federal government did not just create ministries and parastatals for nothing. We have to benefit. The states must benefit from all the ministries and parastatals. Also, the federal government must also benefit from us, because through all these ministries and parastatals, the international world will know what we have in Akwa Ibom State.
Representatives of the federal establishment in Akwa Ibom State are optimistic that the synergy existing between the federal ministries, departments and agencies will serve as a sustainable drive towards attaining industrialization and a vibrant economy. In Uyo, Ifoma Aihoje, NTA News.
The need to engage critical stakeholders with respect to the interpretation and implementation of the Nigerian Oil and Gas Industry Content Development Act was brought to the fore at a one-day workshop for members of the judiciary in Bayelsa State. Edidiong Eba reports that the workshop was put together by the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board.
The Nigerian Oil and Gas Industry Content Development Act promotes increased indigenous participation in the country's oil and gas industry to enhance the socio-economic well-being of the nation. This session was informed by the need to bring the judiciary up to speed on the imperatives of the Act and how judicial officers as critical stakeholders can contribute their quota towards the advancement of the ideals of the Local Content Act.
It is workshops like this that offer us continuing legal education.
We will be looking at implementation of the acts.
Executive Secretary of the Board, Engineer Simbi Wabote, who joined the workshop virtually, maintained that the Act will drive the import and sense of urgency of the future of the Nigerian oil and gas sector with resultant benefits and achievements.
The target is that by 2027, NCDMB will grow the Nigerian content to 70%, which will translate to the creation of more than 300,000 direct jobs.
This sentiment is shared by the Chief Judge of Bayelsa State, Justice Kate Abiri, the Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Baria Dambo, and others. They emphasize that the Act empowers industry players to contribute towards the economy through value addition, creation of employment, and contract awards, especially with the policy of first consideration for Nigerians.
The adoption of the local content policy in the oil and gas industry is seen as a strategy to boost the participation of indigenous oil firms in the supply chain of the sector.
A wellspring of awareness of the applicable local content rules and regulations under the Nigerian Oil and Gas Industry Content Development Act will have been raised.
One of the benefits of local content policy or law is to retain much of your spend in country.
The theme for the workshop is Philosophy and the Imperatives of the Nigerian Oil and Gas Industry Content Development Act. In Yanagwa, Edidiong Iba, NTA News.
Let's now talk health. A renewed collective resolve has been recommended towards ending malaria scourge with Mortein, a pest and insect control product. That's besides the many malaria interventions by governments in highly endemic nations. This is just as Mortein marks the 2022 World Malaria Day. Charles Alpha reports.
On a day when governments and partners gathered to unite against common enemy, malaria, Mortein insecticide is pushing for the immense use of the product as cost-effective way of preventing the disease. They identify prevention as one of the major cost-effective ways against the spread of malaria in Nigeria. That is in line with this year's World Malaria Day focus, which is advance equity, build resilience, and malaria.
Prevention is cost effective. With prevention, you don't have to think about going to the hospital. You also lose man hours when you go to the hospital. Last year, we launched the Fight to End Malaria initiative, whereby we want to do awareness, and we also want to drive access to our different products that we have in Nigeria. Reckitt
Sub-Saharan Africa, in its efforts to end the scourge, says it is engaging communities and views collaborations as part of the numerous roles it is playing to stem the prevalence of malaria in Nigeria and Africa, using Mortein, which they say kills mosquitoes 100%.
Mortein comes from the house of Reckitt. The claim that we are making here is all about how the efficacy of the product is. And this claim has been tested by third-party authorities and also endorsed by the regulatory body in Nigeria.
Statistics in Nigeria may not be favorable, but the Minister of Health, Dr. Sage Hanire, says government is intensifying efforts on the need for increased investments in malaria programs.
Nigeria has improved from 42% to now 23% in malaria prevalence, which is very good, and we hope that by the time we get the result of the new survey, it will be even less than 23%.
Mountain is partnering with the Federal Ministry of Health through National Malaria Elimination Program and other stakeholders to upscale awareness and sustain the commitment for complete elimination. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
It is that period of the year when the attention of the global community is drawn to the #1 killer of children under 5 in Africa. Do you know what that is and what the Nigerian story is? Where are we in the drive for vaccine? The next segment of News Extra brings us answers when we return from this next break. To stay. Welcome back. With constant evolution of technology, which always impact media operations, the industry is left with no choice than to understand the consumption pattern of its audience and refit itself to meet both contemporary and future demands. To help the industry get a better handle on this phase, leading telecommunication giant MTN Nigeria, in partnership with Pan Atlantic University, is organizing a media innovation program for media practitioners. Adeniyi Taiwo reports.
With an increasing convergence between ICT and the media, the landscape of the industry has changed rapidly. While most operations are now digital, necessitating a change in content structure and format, these experts believe the future holds so much more, with artificial intelligence and metaverse projected to change the media landscape in no distant time.
The people that can take advantage of the technological changes are the people that are going to create value for the society.
In the well-researched consideration of leading telecommunication giant MTN Nigeria, the media must get ahead of these changes by acquiring requisite knowledge about innovation in the industry. According to the Chief Executive Officer of MTN Nigeria, Carl Toriola, this is what Media Innovation Program, a 6-month certification training for media professionals, offers.
Artificial intelligence is still a relatively new field, but it's important both the media and the content industry, as well as MTN, partnering with them, really expose this and figure out how we can expand our industries and make it more efficient.
The next step is, how do we take you on as we are climbing up? How do we go with you?
20 fellows are expected to emerge from the training organized in partnership with the School of Media and Communication, Pan Atlantic University.
We want to see how technology of today and technology of tomorrow can be utilized by media practitioners to be able to do their job effectively. And therefore, this launch is to kick off a program to develop competencies, develop skills, develop capacities in those who practice media.
With 7.5 million digital subscribers, out of its 68.5 million total subscribers, MTN Nigeria hopes to drive leading digital solutions for the nation's progress by creating shared value. In Lagos, Adeniyi Taiwo, NTA News.
Food and energy price shocks from Ukraine war could last for years, says World Bank report, as investors gain 1.72 billion naira in the capital market. Let's get details from Musa Abubakar on Business News.
Thank you, Henry. Let's do some business. The war in Ukraine has dealt a major shock to commodity markets, altering global patterns of trade, production and consumption in ways that will keep prices at historically high levels through the end of 2024. World Bank's latest commodity markets outlook report indicates that the increase in energy prices over the past 2 years has been the largest since the 1973 oil crisis. Price increases for food commodities, of which Russia and Ukraine are large producers, and fertilizer, which rely on natural gas as a production input, have been the largest since 2008. World Bank's Vice President for Equitable Growth, Finance and Institutions, Indemit Gill, said these developments have started to raise the specter of stagflation. Policymakers should take every opportunity to increase economic growth at home and avoid actions that will bring harm to the global economy. Energy prices are expected to rise more than 50% in 2022 before easing in 2023 and 2024. Non-energy prices, including agriculture and metals, are projected to increase almost 20% in 2022 and will also moderate in the following years. And now to energy. Oil prices saw modest gains on Wednesday despite a soaring US dollar, which makes barrels more expensive, and coronavirus outbreaks in China clouded the economic outlook in the world's biggest importer of crude oil. Reuters reports Brent crude futures added 33 cents to end the day at $105.32 per barrel. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures settled 0.3% higher at $102.02 per barrel. It's the third straight day of gains this week on the Nigerian stock market as the NGX All-Share Index recorded a marginal gain of 0.01% this Wednesday at 48,571.75 basis points. Market capitalization advanced modestly to 21.7 trillion naira. At the close of trading, investors exchanged 246.7 million shares in 5,033 deals valued at 2.3 billion naira. The insurance industry is still taking the lead in terms of volume and traded shares. Well, that was business news. Aries, back to you.
Many thanks, Musa. Now, Katsina Area Command of the Nigeria Customs Service begins another round of consultation with Jebia border communities with a view to guiding them on the advantages of reopening of the border. This came to light when Controller of the Command and his counterpart from the Sector 4 unit of the National Border Drill Operations covering Northwest led the official reopening of Jebia border as directed by the federal government. Shehu Adamu reports.
The Customs Headquarters had on the 22nd of April issued a statement ordering the reopening of 4 additional land borders in the country after 2 years of closure under the exercise known as National Border Drill Operations. Jebia border in Katsina State, being one of the major gateways to Republic of Niger from Nigeria, is among the 4 additional land borders recently reopened in the country after 2 years of extensive drills.
This is our yearning, and we are pleased to hear this from the government.
Controller of the Katsina Area Command of the Nigeria Customs Service and his counterpart of the National Border Drill Operations, Alhawada Chedi and Grigori Itoto, said, despite the reopening of the Jebia border, Customs are going a step further to educate the public on the list of prohibited items and the need for strict compliance.
On no account will not entertain somebody exporting grains out of the country. I've told them yesterday, and we still held a meeting, and even today we held a meeting with some of them.
Now that the borders are open, these interdicting the illicit crossing of these items will still not be tolerated.
Statistics have indicated that within the 2 years of the drill operations, seizures of items worth 8 billion naira was recorded, as well as interception of monies meant for supply of arms and illicit drugs. In Katsina, Shehu Adamu, NTA News.
Contrary to the purported report of the death of 20 inmates at the Katsina Correctional Facility from tuberculosis, officials say only 12 deaths recorded between January and April this year. The controller of Nigerian Correctional Service, Katsina State Command, made a clarification while commenting on the reported death of inmates at the custodial center. Awal Haliru reports.
The state has 12 correctional facilities and custodial centers across the state. During the COVID-19 pandemic, only some designated centers were allowed to admit inmates, and as a result, hundreds of them were transferred from the Police Criminal Investigation Department and dropped in one of the centers. The inmates were evacuated from the center to Katsina. According to the controller, Katsina State Command of the Nigerian Correctional Service, 7 deaths were recorded in January this year.
From that 7 died, and this April is only 1 that died. It's only 1. So see the total number of deaths recorded both in Katsina all and even in Katsina everywhere across the state is just 12 and not 20. Just 12 in the whole state.
He said a high team of medical experts was sent to Katsina by the Controller General, and in collaboration with the state government and a non-governmental organization, tuberculosis screening exercise was conducted on inmates in all the facilities across the state. Isolation was made on those found positive.
So now, those that are already isolated are safe from those that are not infected. No more infection. And God willing, up till now, as I'm talking to you, we have not recorded any other than that one in the first week of April.
And these TB cases we have in the prison are under control because we liaise with the National Tuberculosis and Leprosy Control. They are there for us. The KNCV and NGO organization, they are also there for us.
The medical officer noted that the remaining 11 patients now on admission are responding to treatment. In Katsina, Awan Halaru, NTA News.
And still on health, taking every possible measure to keep mosquitoes away continues to resonate on every World Malaria Day. Despite this, fatalities are still recorded annually, with women and children falling as major victims. Nigeria, being one of the countries with most cases, is striving to end the scourge with high expectation on the new oral vaccines for children under 5. On the heels of the 2022 World Malaria Day, Oluseye Adiagbo examines efforts by Nigeria to eliminate the disease.
Record shows that in 2021, over 600,000 people died from malaria in 85 countries, and more than 2/3 of those deaths were among children under the age of 5 living in the African region. Health experts say Nigeria, Africa's most populous nation, accounts for the highest malaria burden in the region and also contributes to 23% of malaria deaths worldwide. The increasing death toll from this preventable and curable disease has been due to decreasing effectiveness of current prophylactic and therapeutic regimens, sparking a search for alternative methods of control, and these have bettered malaria vaccines.
We have right now is a vaccine that can be deployed, that it's accepted, that it's safe, and that can have a massive impact.
Long awaited for children, the World Health Organization says malaria vaccine is a breakthrough for science, child health, and malaria management.
We need to, reach out to our people through all the outlets so that all the myths and misconceptions on immunization generally and then this new malaria vaccine will be addressed.
When I saw the news, I was actually happy because it will help eradicate malaria.
To me, it all depends if it's not going to be harmful on the baby.
World Malaria Day, which is marked on the 25th of April every year, provides health experts, caregivers, and government officials in Nigeria a moment to reflect on the scale of the challenge the country is still faced with and recognizing what needs to be done to eliminate the public health problem.
It also calls on communities and localities to take ownership of the prevention of malaria and accessing proper care and treatment by ensuring that all of us keep our environments clean. Sleep inside insecticide-treated beds. Visit the hospital or a health clinic near you if you have a fever to do a test, a rapid diagnostic test.
Despite the introduction of new interventions and the latest vaccines, seasonal malaria prevention, as well as sleeping under long-lasting insecticide-treated mosquito nets, especially pregnant mothers and children, will remain a core intervention to save lives until total elimination of the scourge of malaria. In Abuja, Oluseye Adiagbo, NTA News.
The vaccines will do a lot of good because we must stop malaria. Another break beckons. When we return, you will get to find out a very serious warning that is coming from the United Nations. Join us again as we have more interesting stories coming your way. Thank you for staying. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, has tasked its officers and men to always observe human rights while conducting their constitutional mandate of ridding the country of drug traffickers and illicit substance intake. NDLEA correspondent Abdulmalik Hassan tells us more.
It is another quarterly assessment of the NDLEA on the war against drug trafficking in Nigeria.
Because of our efforts, toil, sweat, and sacrifice.
Cocaine, methamphetamine, cannabis sativa, codeine syrup, and tramadol capsules ranked the most of the trafficked substances in the first quarter of 2022. A whopping 65,916 kilograms was seized and 3,539 persons arrested.
I assure you that the NDLEA of today is still a work in progress. We are still running a race and not yet anywhere near the finishing line. The wider program in your various commands is key to our work. There is much we can achieve when our communities are working hand in hand with us. That is why our roadmap, the National Drug Control Master Plan, and 2021 to 2025 strongly emphasizes collaboration with all the stakeholders in society.
It may be a great milestone achieved, but for NDLEA boss, the fight is far from being won. So outstanding staffs and commands were recognized for the successes recorded in drug demand and supply reduction.
Thank you. And I assure you, as we go back to our commands, you will hear more news, more arrests, more drug awareness programs, drug demand reductions.
It is expected that this commendation will spur the officers to do more in curbing illicit drug use and trafficking in Nigeria. In Abuja, Abdulmalik Hassan, NTA News.
Let's now move away from what we don't want, which is drugs, to what we want, which is education. Because months into the lingering strike by the Academic Staff Union of Universities, emerging issues now dominate discussions on the fate of Nigeria's tertiary institutions by key players in the sector. This resonated during NTA Tuesday Live with firm demands for returning the universities to session while negotiations with the federal government continue. Abubakar Akwanga reports.
Many weeks have gone after the extension of the initial period of close down of public universities by ASU over the non-implementation of 2009 agreement and University Transparency Accountability Solutions (UTAS).
When they say agreement renegotiation, people don't even understand what it means. What is the content? The content is condition of service. That's the major thing there. Increase in salary for university teachers and university professionals and whatever that are in the university system. That I'm a product of the university. I can never be against that people want an increase to take you home.
The federal government, either this one or the succeeding one, will not implement the 2009 agreement in total. If it were to be so, it should have been implemented since. 2009 agreement was signed by the Yardra government. You have had, after Yardra, you have had Jonathan, 6 years. You have had Buhari now, 7 going on 8. Isn't it clear that no federal government will implement the 2009 agreement in total?
The lingering industrial dispute has taken a toll on the students, and these players say ASU must return to negotiation table for resolution of the impasse.
On 14th of February, while discussing with us, declare a warning strike without even notifying me. Strike in itself is failure of leadership. That's what they don't know. It's failure of leadership. Both for you as head leader of the union and both for your direct employers.
The Academic Staff Union of Universities speaks on the union's position on the industrial action.
What we are saying, that any day we believe in Nigeria, we believe in the university system, Nigerian leaders
As the strike lingers, stakeholders are worried that the future of Nigeria's universities may be put in jeopardy if problems are allowed to outweigh solutions and compromises. In Abuja, Abubakar Akwanga, NTA News.
Just hoping that the era of strikes would come to an end really soon. Now, human activity and behavior is contributing to increasing number of disasters around the world. The United Nations has warned. A UN report indicates that more than one disaster a day is looming without action on risk reduction. Onengiye Fineface has details.
Global Assessment Report 2022 released by the UN Office for Disaster Risk Reduction ahead of the Global Platform for Disaster Risk Reduction in May revealed that between 350 and 500 medium to large-scale disasters took place every year over the past 2 decades. The number of disaster events is projected to reach 560 a year or 1.5 disasters a day by 2030. The report blames these disasters on a broken perception of risk based on optimism, underestimation and invincibility, which leads to policy, finance and development decisions that exacerbate existing vulnerabilities and put people in danger.
That we need to reconfigure governance and financial systems to work across silos and design policies, plans and actions in consultation with the people most affected, not only for them. That the lack of shared understanding on disaster risk is resulting in fragmented approach and exacerbates marginalization of vulnerable communities, which we need to stop.
The report entitled Our World at Risk, Transforming Governance for a Resilient Future indicates that disasters can be prevented, but only if countries invest the time and resources to understand and reduce their risks. Onengiye Fineface, NTA News.
Let's take our final breather for the night and then bring you a bit of sports. To stay on.
Ask the 2020.
Volunteering is a willful act of an individual or group freely giving time, labor, or resources for community service. Many volunteers are mostly trained in the areas they intend to serve, but Solomon Fenan, who has been controlling traffic at the local Goma traffic light over a period of time, never received any form of training. Oh yes, Ifeanyi Ezuba reports that Solomon's assistance to his community.
Volunteering can be very rewarding. It provides new areas of interest. One might decide to make a difference in his or her local area by donating few hours of time each week to assist in community-based projects. This could be a free option for people with limited time, or better still, traffic control, like Solomon Fenan.
The way I'm doing this job, there is a time I am passing for Akure for Shuduade Junction. So I had some accident that they do with student boys. There are 3 boys. So I took the opportunity to work as a voluntary for Nigeria.
When I came in, I saw this guy controlling traffic here. So when I made the inquiries, they said the guy has been here for past 2 years and everything. Yes, and he has been so active and all that. Most of the time we encourage him, and cheer him up to do the work he's, doing.
Kind-hearted Nigerians are beginning to appreciate the gesture of people like Solomon. Mr. Abdurazak Yakini, who acknowledged the efforts of Solomon at ensuring smooth flow of traffic at the local Goma axis, gave him some cash donation and promised to place him on a monthly stipend.
Bills to pay, you must be living like every other person too. Coming here in the morning till evening, it means he doesn't have any other means of sustaining himself. So we think we can take that responsibility of at least giving. It might not be enough, it might not be much, but at least something small that can encourage him to keep doing it, because he's been doing the good work he's doing.
People
choose to volunteer for a variety of reasons. For some, it offers the chance to give something back to the community or make a difference to the people around them. For others, it provides the opportunity to develop more skills or build on an existing experience or knowledge, just like Solomon Fenner. This act has not only given him a sense of purpose, it has also increased his social skill as well as provide job prospects for him. In Abuja, Ifeanyi Ezumba, NTA News.
Well done, Solomon, and we hope that more Nigerians would, volunteer so we can make our country really great. Let's now talk sports. The death has occurred of Chief Lady Ade Ajayi Yeye Meto of Igogo Ekiti. Funeral arrangements released by the families of Ajayi and Oluwa of Igogo Ekiti indicates that service of songs in honor of late Lady Ajayi will be on the 28th of April 2022 by 4 o'clock in the evening in her residence at 822 Okeokin Street, Igogo Ekiti, while funeral service will take place on the 29th of April 2022 at St. Joseph's Catholic Pro-Cathedral Church, Igogo Ekiti. Now let's take a look at what the weather would look like on Thursday.
You're welcome. Sunny skies with patches of cloud is expected over the north and the north central region, with prospect of early morning thunderstorms over parts of Taraba, FCT and Nasarawa. The southern half of the country is expected to be cloudy during the morning hours. However, by afternoon, there are chances of evening thunderstorms over the southeast coast, the southwest coast, and parts of the inland cities of the south, places like Ondo, Ogun, Oshun, and Edo. Prospect of thunderstorms are also there over parts of Plateau, Niger, Kwara, and Kogi, as well as parts of southern Borno, Adamawa, Taraba, Gombe, Bauchi, Kaduna, and Kebbi. For weather forecasts across some selected cities, please stand by.
That concludes NTA News Extra tonight. Many thanks for watching. And here's a quick reminder that rape is a crime. Speak up and take action. I am Ian Ray John. Have a good night.
Not been able to land a devastating one.